Any word?
Yeah, it's all on Zoom, so most people are on Zoom and then.
Okay.
Um,
Come on, let's finish setting that up and then. Hey, how are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good. It's like you have 5 pieces all to yourself.
Oh.
Let me know when you get a second, Caitlin.
right, did you,
All right, we'll get started in 2 more minutes. Sorry, my other appointment ran a little late. Hey, how are you?
Good. Not too bad. Yeah, no, cause.
Y'all grab some food and we'll get started. How's everybody doing on Zoom world?
Good.
Good.
Good, good.
Good. How's the audio?
Good, thank you.
Good. Good.
Good. If I can see y'all's beautiful faces, I'd love to. If you can, or you're not in a place where you can have the camera on, totally understand. Oh, you're right. Out on the lake. You look like you're outside. Where you at? You didn't invite us.
No, that's fine. We'll see our face.
I'm just a coffee shop. I'm not delayed. I wish I was.
Okay, so, Lucy, obviously, is at a doctor's appointment. She asked me to switch this up. I know for some of y'all, we had a good question. I'm sorry, a good class last time we talked about internet leads. So let's take some ahas from that for those that were there. And then 2, what are some of the challenges you're running into with Rise internet leads? More on the conversational piece, not the technical piece. That's more Lucy's role. And then we'll jump into some training as well. So any ahas from the last meeting that we had that I was involved with?
Touching them every day for the next 10 days has really helped out a lot. That's one thing that I picked up from that last meeting is actually calling them every day, texting them, emailing them, especially when you've just connected with them.
Awesome. And how's that changed up your results so far?
That is actually being more proactive. They're actually communicating more and I actually always set them in a portal and we've met a few times, either looking and gotten together, helping them see if they can get approved, but a lot of them are getting approved. They already are approved.
Huge. That's huge. Yeah. Because the more conversations you can have with them, the sooner you can get to their problem or the solution to help them get into their house.
Correct.
So that's awesome. Great job on executing that technique. Okay. Who else from the last class? Any ahas or anything they're doing to win? You shut that door back there, please. Thank you. And in the room or on Zoom, anybody? No? How was that boring? Give me 2 more. 2 more. I see you got some. What do you got?
I don't know what she said. What she's talking about, the follow-up, how you have to call them.
She said that she really liked the plan of action. We call it the DARE 10 or 10 days of pain, but the number or frequency of touches that you need to do on the internet lead in the first 10 days to get in front of them and making that change in her business. She's already had more people not only communicate with her, but also has helped move them further down the road, right? They're already approved, or they're about to get approved, or it sounds like maybe even you're showing some houses to some people.
Yes,
Yeah, makes a huge difference,
definitely.
right? Now, there's two things, and I can't remember what class it was, but one, the internet lead doesn't know you're reaching out that many times. Right? They don't know their internet lead. Right? So keep that mindset in there, right? Because they come through an open house, they could be expired, they could be referral, but they don't know their internet lead. So don't think that you're bothering them if you struggle with the amount of contacts. Two, when do most people usually pick up on number of contacts? Yeah, it's after 5. Right? There's even studies that show 7. Now, what's the average amount of realtor reaches out to an internet lead?
3.
Nope, 1.5.
Oh.
1.5. So if the average realtor reaches out 1.5 times on an inquiry, but it takes 5 to 7 times to get a hold of an internet lead, what should do? Increase, which is why in there that's the number of leads. Now, I know we're not like all the other realtors, so your ability to consistently follow up over time will separate you from the people that don't get them, if that makes sense. Right? Don't be the realtor that only contacts once. Okay, good. Who else? One more all. Fred, you got anything? Scott?
Yeah,
Becky?
I was just gonna say, hey, now one thing that I picked up from last time, and I'm trying to get better at it, is just being organized. I know you showed last time, I think it was Nate's organization and how he puts them together.
That's right.
And that's something that I'm just trying to do better on, organizing them and, you know, keeping up with all the leads that we get from different areas. But I really like what you showed last time about the organization. I thought that was really a good thing.
Yeah, so the CRMs can be our friend or can be our enemy. So we really want the CRM to be our friend. And the way it should work, if you break up your morning into lead generation and lead conversion, right? Let's say you focus on 3 hours is the commitment you're going to do. The first 90 minutes should be all focused on getting new business. So lead generation, right? That's calling your database, calling your expireds, calling any internet leads that get assigned to you. So lead generation can look so many ways. That all could be writing note cards, sending emails, anything that it takes to get a new lead in front of you. The 10 days of pain we talked about is lead generation, right? Now, I think Scott's also mentioning that the follow-up, the next 90 minutes would be what's called lead conversion, right? Now, if you're new to the business, the lead conversion or follow-up is going to be a little bit lower. So maybe you spend 2 hours on lead gen and 1 hour on lead conversion, right? Because you don't have a lot of leads to follow up with, right? And this is kind of what we're going to talk about today. When you do have that good conversation, you turn them into what we call a nurture, and that's going to be your lead follow-up. And I think that's some of the organization that you saw from Nate, if I'm thinking correctly, Scott, is that he has 37 leads to follow up with on a consistent basis that have said they want to work with him. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into what a nurture is. Now, at the end of the day, you don't have to call the nurture. You can call it whatever you want. But I like creating kind of what we have similar languages across business. And this is what I found to work the best. So does anybody remember, because I did tease a little bit, what a nurture is? There's 6 points that I define a nurture. Does anybody remember what it was from their notes or from their memory? Anita, you think maybe? Oh, you weren't here. Okay, got you. I thought you were about to tell me all 6. You're like, I got it.
Next time.
Next time. Anybody online?
So I'm looking at my notes on computer.
Yeah.
I have 6-point contract, where, when, why.
Yes.
And then I don't have the rest, but I got the where, when, why.
Good. So that's 50%. That's 3 of the 6.
Yeah.
So again, this is when you do get them on the phone. Some people ask, well, what do I say? And I go, well, you have a conversation. Come on in. Where, when, why? Okay, so that's the first three. Let's get the other three. And they're technically more logistical, the next three.
Agent follow-up, contact information.
Yes, that's it, Peggy. What else? Clear
Uh,
follow-up.
Agent follow-up, contact information, and then clear follow-up, I believe.
Close. Good contact information. So you're absolutely right. That's number 4. Now, as silly as it sounds, I'm guilty of it too. Now, being an internet lead, you're probably gonna have at least an email and maybe a phone number. But there's a good chance you're also gonna need their home address, especially if they're a seller, right? So good contact information, Peggy's exactly right. Clear follow-up is 100% correct too. The golden rule of any lead is never have a lead without a clear follow-up. Okay? Golden rule. Anytime you're talking to a client, actually, or a lead or anybody, is that you set the tone of, great, I'm gonna give you a call Monday morning at 9 to go over this. It also gives you some self-accountability, because now if you tell them you're gonna call Monday at 9, you better have whatever's ready that you promised them. Right? And you also better call them Monday at 9. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So clear follow-up. I want to give you some more on clear follow-up in a second. Number 5, right? And I know you can see it online, is agent opportunity. That's the 5th one, Peggy. Agent opportunity. Now, what does that mean in regards to a nurture? What does agent opportunity mean in our world? Close, not referral. Agent opportunity with the consumer. Are they working with anybody? Is there an opportunity for you to work with them? Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, is there an, okay, so how do you ask for that? How do you ask a consumer if there's an opportunity, right?
Well, like if, I'm not for sure, but it would be like, have you written any offers yet? Have you
Good.
signed with anyone?
Good, yes, yes. That's close. Now, let's go to real world for a second, then we'll come back to agent opportunity, because I think that's one a lot of people miss. And I'll give you our agent opportunity script on open houses. When you walk into a store, I mean, I'm sure everybody here's been to Nordstrom's once, right? Sure. When you walk in, what do they say to you? Can I help you today? What is almost 99% people in this room, what is their script? No, I'm just looking. Now, I
Just
wasn't
looking.
taught that. I don't know who told me that, but everybody usually says, no, I'm just looking. No, I'm good. Now, have any of y'all ever gone into Nordstrom, said, no, I'm just looking, and actually have bought something? Yes, of course, we all have. So were you lying about just looking, or you just not want to be bothered? Just want to be bothered. Okay. So now, I don't know who said it, but I want you to try to remove this verbiage from your language on agent opportunity. If you ask somebody, do you have an agent? What are you going to say? They're going to say yes. Why? They don't want to be bothered. Okay, so stop saying that. Stop, get out of that vernacular of saying, do you have an agent? Because they're always most likely going to say yes. Right? Now, if you still say it, it's okay. Then you're going to have to go a little bit deeper. Great. Have you signed anything with that agent or committed fully to that agent? Because I'd love to show you what I can do to get on your next home. Right? And then you have to find if they signed anything. If, of course, they say, yes, we signed something, then, so you don't have a legal breach of contract, you got to move them on. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I think Peggy said it earlier, but what's another way to find out if there's agent opportunity? What are some other questions?
Ask if they made any offers.
Awesome. Ask if they any offers. What else? Because the answer still could be yes. Right? I like
How many homes have you looked at?
how many homes you've been looking at and how you've been getting in them. Right? And they could say, we haven't looked at many, we've been going to open houses. Now, what is a tool that all of y'all have that some consumers don't know that you can offer to that person and say, and do kind of what we'd call a soft close? What's a tool everybody has in their pocket? It's on their iPhone.
App.
Super key. Super key, right? So again, I want to make sure you understand. So if I said this, so who wants to role play me real quick? Who wants to just say, will you do it for me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. See, I knew you're right. I'm just curious, how many offers have you been making or how you been getting houses?
We've just mainly been going to open houses. We haven't really gotten a chance to see any private showings
Got
yet.
it, got it.
Yeah, just looking at the open houses that come up.
That makes sense. Would it be beneficial for you if you could go look at these houses kind of unbothered and on a private showing time on your own time?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to show you what I could do to help you get that.
Thank you.
Yeah, now it's an opportunity. Now I've got an opportunity to go do something. People take it for granted. Right? Or they say, well, we kind of already working with a realtor. Kind of totally understand, don't want to step on any toes. What's your first name again?
Samantha.
That's right. Samantha, but I'd love to show you what I could do to help you find your home. Right? And then I would potentially close for an appointment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's agent opportunity, but you got to ask that. A lot of people don't want to ask that question or move that way because they just don't want to talk about it. And then you go and find out, and I've been guilty of this, but you go show a home and you call them and they go, thank you, but we made an offer with our realtor. Right? Has anybody experienced that yet? I have a couple times. Awesome. You have that also that you experienced it. Right? So this is why agent opportunity is so important. Let me give you one more on the open house on agent opportunity. Now, what is everybody's normal conversation when somebody walks into an open house for those that have done it?
Normally I just open up with some information about the house
Great.
and ask, how did they find our open
Also, how they
house?
fund it.
Things
Okay.
like that.
Awesome. And did you find out if they're working with anybody, agent opportunity? Do you go that route?
I usually will go that route after they've looked for a few minutes. I don't
Yeah.
like to bombard them with
Got
like
it.
a whole bunch at once as soon as they walk in
Sure.
the door.
Sign in.
Yes, and sign in. Okay, and do you think they're being honest about that? Okay, do you think they give you the good information? Not usually. Okay, so if they're not getting good information, they usually don't sign in. You don't want to bombard them. Can I give y'all a different way to get to agent opportunity here? Okay. So, will you role play with me again?
Sure.
So act like you're knocking on the door. Hey, thank you for coming in. My name is Denton, by the way.
Hi, my name is Samantha. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Samantha, well, come on in. I'm just curious. A lot of people come to open houses for two reasons. They're wondering what their home is worth, or they're looking for themselves. I'm just curious, which one are you?
We're looking for ourselves for a little bit time down the road, like maybe 3 to 6 months.
Nice, nice. So you've been looking for a long time right now?
We've started looking, our lease isn't up until July,
Okay.
so we've kind of been looking, but we haven't done anything yet because
Sure.
we still have to stay out the lease.
Gotcha. How's it been going?
Too bad, we've really gone to just open houses, I haven't
Got it.
really.
Okay, stop there. Okay, did we talk about, do you have an agent? No, what am I having her talk about? Or what she's doing and how it's going. Do people want to talk about their buying process in most cases? Right? So switch it. They know that you can hand them a flyer on the house. Right? You're never going to get majority of people signed in. But now I've seen a couple opportunities. I can start closing her to where, when, why. She already kind of told me the when, did she not? I could dive deeper in there. She didn't tell me why they're moving yet, but I would start diving in there. But then I could start finding out what her problem is, right? What is their solution I can provide to them? Right, which we talked about all those tools. We just touched on them, like Homeward, right? Home partners. But that's a much better way to get in conversation. Now, here's the other thing you have to understand too. I know we're switching from internet to open houses, but it's the same concept. On open houses, your goal is only to really have 1 or 2 conversations, not 100. So you won't have this conversation with every 50 people that walk in or 10 people, just like when somebody walks in Nordstrom's, you're not going to sell them a pair of shoes every single time. But your goal is to find that one person that does want a pair of those shoes. So that's the way you change the conversation as soon as they walk in. Does that make sense? Right? It's the same thing with the internet lead. Anybody tracking on agent opportunity?
Hey,
Good.
Denny,
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, this is a different example, but
Yeah.
last year we had we were showing a home to one of our clients that we got from Opta City.
Yep.
And then we showed him the house, but the guy wasn't actually he really didn't like the house that we were showing him. So we were just chatting with him.
Okay.
And we had these random couple just come to the door and they wanted to see the house. And so we didn't even know who they were, but they were Hispanic and we spoke to them in Spanish.
Yeah.
And so just they were just like, can we see the house? And we were like, sure. We could have said no, we could have like, no, you need an agent or something, right? But we showed them the house and they weren't interested. And the other guy we have to sit, he ended up saying no, he doesn't want it, and he left. But then they stayed and they said, hey, do you mind if you show us another house? And we were like, sure, we got some time. So then we showed them another house. And then what's crazy is that that ended up, not that house that we showed them that they wanted, but we ended up closing on them, and they were a cash client that we ended up making randomly at a random place like that. So you just really never know, you just gotta be ready, and you just never know when someone's gonna come to you like that.
Yeah, 100%. So let's go ahead and go a little deeper on that. And if anybody was at team meeting, you heard me speak about this a little bit. But Jeff Glover calls it the ALM model, A being standing for appointment. And so let's dive a little bit on agent opportunity even further. Can a consumer today book a private showing on their iPhone right now? Yes, through companies like Redfin,
Oh yeah.
Open Door. What else? There's another company. There's multiple companies that allow a consumer now to go and just book right now, right? That's the nature of the beast today. So let me give you the analogy. If all of us are about to invest in a huge company that sold products online, what's one of the things that bar none we would probably have to do to compete with some of the other online shops?
Faster.
Faster what? The shipping, right?
Yeah, faster shipping, or in our case, faster to get to them and get them what they want.
Yes, faster shipping, right? Who has set the bar for shipping?
So
Amazon. So why would we, it's the whole joke, 6-minute ads, 5-minute ads. At the end of the day, if we're launching a business online and we have less than 2-day shipping, how we even begin to compete with Amazon? Would y'all agree? Right? So now let's go back to your internet leads. If somebody could get into a house today easily enough, so easy, right? How do we compete against that? Well, that's a little bit of your time over you go and do, as they said, they door knock, you go actually show a property first, right? You go show a property first. And then you get ready to get the nurture criteria. Because I know everybody in this room and on the call, once they get in front of somebody, it's showtime. They're a lot better than by phone or email or text, right? You're ready to go, right? You got in this business to get belly to belly, face to face. Well, that's your opportunity to get in front of somebody to go show that one property. Now, I'm not saying go show 100 properties. I'm saying go show one, get face to face with them. And if you can't have this conversation with them by phone, do it by face. That make sense? Okay, that's why agent opportunity is so important. It's just not that they're working with a realtor or not, it's your ability to get in front of them to convert them. That's why it's one of the 6. Okay, I think I hammered that home. Clear follow-up. Let's talk about that for a second. Peggy said clear follow-up, which is absolutely true. It's the golden rule. Make sure no matter the lead, when you have a good conversation with them, that you tell them the next time you're going to call them, right? When you talk to a lead, you want to picture it like a football field, right? You're at the 0-yard line, for example, and you want to get to a touchdown. And every time you talk to that person, you're slowly moving them down the field, right? Now, in our world, the 50-yard line is getting them approved. Notice it's not the 10-yard line. Once they get approved from the lender, we're at the 50-yard line moving towards a closing. From 0 to 50 is all the conversations and moving them down to find out if they're ready to go, or what we call nurture criteria. Okay, those are the conversations. Maybe they need credit repair. Maybe in this particular case, like with Samantha, they have a lease that is expiring in 6 months. Maybe we got to wait for that before we keep pushing, going down further. Okay. Clear follow-up. Now, if you have a follow-up that's longer than 30 days, meaning they say, hey, we're going out of town, or hey, we got a job, or we're really just looking, we got a lease up in 6 months, great, I'll call you in a month. You're clearly going to set up on a portal, right? Because you're going to have their information on that. Does everybody set every internet lead up on a portal? I just want to assume that everybody does that. Yep. And then you follow up with them. If you follow up more than 30 days, you want to cut the time in half. Now, why do you want to cut the time in half? So if I said they want to talk to you in 2 months, you call them in 30. Why do you want to cut the time in half? Things change. What could change in their life?
They could get sick of their lease and just say, screw it, I'm gonna break it.
Yep, a lot of people have done that. We've had somebody pay a $10,000 fee to break their lease to get in a home. Matter of fact, today we're writing an offer for a guy who we internet lead last year. He ended up leasing for $2,500 a month. His lease is not up until December. He called us last week and said, I'm tired of this rental. I want out. We're getting out. We want to find a house. Showed him this weekend, writing an offer today. Right? That's a great example, right? They're just tired of the lease. What else could happen?
Life changes.
Life changes. What's the number one reason why people buy or sell houses?
Job, kids.
Which is what you just said.
Personal.
Life changes. Life changes. They could end up being pregnant. They could get a new job. They could be fired from their job. They could be going through a divorce. Right? So whether it's positive or negative, unfortunately, we are there for them. Hopefully for the positive. But I just did a listing call this morning for a referral going through a divorce. Selling, and they need to sell because they're going through a divorce. Right? So what are the lifestyle changes? You'll be able to help. That's why you cut the time in half. Right? And you just say, hey, I was thinking about you, I want to follow up. Does that make sense? If you don't, and this has happened to me, you know what did, and I appreciate the call. We were driving the other day, we saw these new builds, we went under contract, and it takes 8 months to build, so it kind of lines up perfectly with a lease. Right? $500,000 Holland home, 5%, I would have got paid if I would have followed up. Right? Because I got them under contract and help them close in 8 months? Absolutely, but I was thinking, well, their lease is not up to the end of the year, so I just won't call them. Don't fall into that trap. Clear follow-up. And I'll end with this on follow-up. I would rather you lose a deal from calling too much than not calling at all. Because you 100% will never know if you don't ever call. At least if you follow up and you lose a deal, then you can at least work on your skill set on maybe what it was that caused them not wanting to use you. But I've told this to everybody on my team, I'd rather you lose a deal from calling too much than not calling at all. Because we all have those leads and you'll experience it, unfortunately, where you have great conversations and they will never respond to you again. That was literally your one shot is when you had them on the phone. Okay. So that's 4, 5, and 6. We'll jump in 1, 2, 3 here in a second, but any comments or ahas from contact info, agent opportunity, or clear follow-up to determine if you have a nurture or not? Who's got a couple ahas or thoughts?
Definitely had it.
Let's go. Yeah.
You definitely had a valid point with the clear follow-up, and even if they say like, my lease isn't up until July, if you check on them sooner, it's
Yeah, absolutely.
definitely a valid point, because things do
100%.
change.
Right? You just follow up. Right? We kind of give this creative avoidance of why not to call. Well, I don't want to bother. Well, you're not bothered. They're not sitting around going, oh, it's day 30. Waiting for my realtor or that person to call. They're not keeping track like we are. So good. Thank you.
That was more of a question.
Yes.
Can you repeat that real quickly, that agent opportunity open house opening line?
Sure. Sure. Will you role play it with me then? So act like you're going to the house. So knock on the door. Hey, come on in. My name's Debbie.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Anita, it's nice to meet you. You know, most people come to open house for 1 or 2 reasons. They're thinking about buying or they're wondering what their home is worth. I'm just curious, which one are you?
Thinking about what mountains.
Oh, awesome. How long have you lived in the neighborhood? About 10 years. And where are you looking to move if you were to sell?
Just yet.
Gotcha. What would be the best place to go? Prosper. What's driving you to Prosper? Gotcha. Yeah, you like the communities more land. So now, if you notice, where did I switch this conversation to? 1, 2, and 3. And I'm letting her talk the entire time. I just broke the ice because I gave her a question talking about, oh, most people think about buying or selling. Curious, which one are you or what the home is worth? Right? And immediately we can segue into 1, 2, and 3. But that is the same conversation you have on an internet lead, or you have with an open house, or you're sitting on a plane, or you're at a bar, or you're at church, or you're at PTA or things. How's the market? Oh, it's great. Why do you ask? Right? Oh, we're kind of thinking, yeah, well, a lot of people used to ask because they're thinking about buying, selling, or investing. Just curious if which one are you? Right, well, we've been thinking about investing debt and we've been seeing all this stuff going, awesome, I'd love to talk to you about that, and I go down the criteria. Right, or we're thinking about selling, my husband's looking at a new job, and so we may take it, we're not sure, but we're just curious on if we were to sell, I get it. I'd be happy to put together a market analysis for you, to show you what your home could be worth, if you decide to sell, if not, it's no big deal. Now, I've got to nurture. Right, it's dependent upon whether the husband gets a job enough, or the wife gets a job, does that make sense? This is not just internet leads, it's anybody. Anybody. So let's do 1, 2, and 3, which are the most important, where, when, and why. Do y'all remember what I said that equals? 'Cause I know somebody had that question in class. Y'all remember what that equals, those 3 things?
Motivation?
Motivation, thank you. You weren't even in class, you got it, good job. Motivation. Understanding where they want to go, when they want to be there, and why they're moving there is their motivation. Right? Now, I sent everybody, or did Lucy send you all the 50 motivational questions? Okay, good. So those are kind of taken to level 2, level 3. But this is the basic, this is what 100% you should have ready to go in your quiver, no matter where you are in the world. Right? Because this is going to help you understand. I already naturally went to it with Anita because she started talking, and I just naturally know where you want to move to. Right? So I'll role play this entire thing, if you like, with somebody, so everybody can take notes, and we can kind of see that if anybody wants to do that with me. Okay, you want to go?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you get a phone call.
Okay.
Yeah, and or I'll call you.
Okay.
You can, and then if you want to throw objections at me, you can. But I want to try to just nail this 6 points of context for everybody, so they can kind of see how the call will go. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Ring ring.
Well,
Hey, this is Dennis Blum. How are you today?
great.
Good. I got your name and number from a friend of ours. His name is Ryan. He said that your family is thinking about maybe making a move.
Yeah, we've thought about it.
Okay, yeah. Tell me about it. What have you been thinking about?
We've just been kind of looking at the market, just kind of seeing what homes are, going at, and seeing if it's worth selling, and if I can sell, if it's worth buying.
Got you. So if I understand you correctly, you're looking at the market. You'd like to know a little more about the market. Wondering if it's worth selling. So do you know what your home might be worth?
I really had some friends down the street. They sold it for I think it was like close to 500,000.
Got it. And is that a number you'd be happy with?
I mean, I would, but I'll probably just be sinking just that much back into a home, so I
Got
feel like.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That makes sense. So the market, and just curious if you were to get a number that you're happy with, you and your family, where do you want to move to?
I mean, wouldn't mind staying in the same area, but maybe just having like a bigger yard. I'm
Yeah.
not used to the small yards up here.
Got you. Where do you live now?
We live in one of the newer areas in Carrollton.
In Carrollton, and the yard there is too small?
Yes.
What's your address so I can just look it up on Google Maps?
Yeah, it's 4652 Castle Hills.
4652 Castle Hills. Okay. And if you were to have a big yard in your next home, what would you want? Twice the size you're at, a third the size bigger, time and a half?
And I don't even know, I just want to be able to like open my side window and not have to shake my neighbor's hand.
Got it. So maybe not the yard is the issue, but maybe how close you are to everybody else.
Yeah, that and the yard too, because I mean, growing up, like it was nice to be able to have a yard where you could put a swing set and it still have like a shed in the back, and it still have running room to play baseball or throw football, so.
Understood. Well, then where are you looking to move then to get this space?
I don't know, I was looking at maybe some older homes that have some bigger yards. I know like Farmer and Branch, I think they
Okay.
had some, but everyone's like tearing all those down and building bigger homes, so it's gotten so expensive, so maybe an older part of like Kenny or
Got it.
Frisco or something like that.
Any Frisco, what would be too far for you?
Ooh, probably too far would be like out near Melissa or Anna,
Okay.
maybe Pilot Point. If we're gonna go out there, I'll be looking for some land.
Melissa, Anna, Pilot Point would be too far. What would that be too far from?
Just from kind of like our friend group.
Gotcha, your friends.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And if you were to find all this in close to your friend group, that made sense on the money side, when would you want all this to happen?
Yeah, really like I said, I'm just kind of looking, so like. Sooner than later, but at the same time, we can wait, like I'm in no necessarily rush, like I like the interest rate on my loan I have now.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, content with what we have now, but it just kind of looking and. And said my friend said you could help at least see what's out there.
Well, I like to know risk scenario, to be honest, because that means that we can make the best decision. We not in for a decision. We just need some data points and we need to know what you're hoping to sell for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll do then, because I know it's not today, is I'll get together what a market analysis looks like for your home, meaning what it could sell for. Is there a time I could stop by this afternoon or tomorrow just to take a quick preview?
Yeah, you can probably stop by tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay, what time?
Let's do about 4:30
4:30, okay? I'll stop by 4:30,
AM.
right? And I'll go ahead and bring, 4:30 AM? I can do that. You bring breakfast, I'll bring coffee.
Hey, I'll have a coffee and.
Okay, it's not that will be my earliest appointment. The earliest I've ever done is 6 AM. So I love breaking records.
There we go.
Okay, so we'll do that. I'll bring some coffee. I'm gonna go ahead and show you what it takes for us to sell your home. So we'd love an opportunity to earn that business as well as helping you buy.
All right.
How else have you been looking right now currently?
I've just been looking on like Zillow, Realtor.com,
Got it.
you know, that kind of stuff. And I have some buddies who live in different areas and they've kind of you know, talked about, oh, so has some places for sale, but.
Got it. So you're just kind of exploratory right now.
Kind of exploratory.
Good.
I also know, like, I mean, I don't know, but I know like with a bunch of the bank stuff going on and everything, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's gonna be like an 08 or something coming up, or, you know, maybe I could get some deals there if that happens, like I just, you know. there's
Great
a
question.
lot going on.
I will be happy to go over that tomorrow when we meet. I've got some good data point on what that looks like for you and what the best decision for you and your family is.
Sweet.
Just a short version is I don't believe it's gonna be an 08. But there are some challenges on both sides. There's also some positives on both sides. And we'll go over that tomorrow and show you how we can help guide you through that when you hire us as your real estate agent.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So I've got a lot of great information. To follow up, I'm gonna send you an email, right, for 4:30 AM.
Yep.
That confirms our appointment. And then since it's at 4:30, I'll just text you around. Do you sleep late or you go to bed pretty early?
I go to bed pretty early.
Okay, I'll text you around 9 PM tonight. Is that okay? Just to make sure you're good for 4:30.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so you hear from me there, and you'll get an email. All right, is there anything else I did answer or can help with before we meet tomorrow?
No, I think that's it right now.
Awesome, thanks. All right, thank you very much. Good job. All right, so I got all 6 points of context. Because of the way that the conversation went, I went ahead and decided to do an appointment instead of a follow-up call. But again, he may not even be ready to go. He doesn't even know, but based on him wanting to sell, he had a lot of market questions. We got a little bit of buying. I thought it prudent to go ahead and set the appointment and meet with him. Does that make sense? And 100%, this would be an appointment I would go on. Right? Because it sounds like you are pretty serious. You have a couple of concerns of market, which I would go over. And then where could you actually move to buy side? Right? Does it even make sense? Because you said the comment, well, I'm just gonna take the money I make and dump it into the next one. Right? So that was a key to not go in that he's a numbers person. Right? Especially when I meet him tomorrow morning. He's a numbers person. Right? Okay, give me some comments or ahas from that role play. Thank you again. Comments and ahas from everybody.
You to work on scripts.
Okay, well, we're in the communication business, right? Right, and that's any industry, right? Whether it be actor, right, doctor, I mean, you have to know how to say things, whatever business you're in, your ability to effectively communicate will determine your success in almost any industry. Right, and who was in control of that conversation? I was. Who felt like they were in control of that conversation? Who did most of the talking? You probably talked 60-70% of the time. Right, and I just focused on taking notes and making sure I heard what he said so I could determine the next question. I think that's the other thing people get confused about. They think it's 1 through 6 in order. No, it's not. This is what I want to accomplish on the call. How I get there doesn't matter to me. It really depends on the conversation. I don't want to go in this order. I want to go in the order of the person on the other line. But I know the goal of the call is to get all this information. Buyer, seller, doesn't matter. Same thing. Sure. Sure. If it's a buyer, you can have them come to the office. You can do a Zoom call. You can do a buyer appointments at their house, even if it's a rental. I would say as you get busier, the goal would to be is get as many appointments in office as possible. So like I have a set of buyers that are past clients of mine for 10 years, coming to the office today at 2 o'clock for a buyer consult, because we're working on investing their money as well as selling their house, as well as buying another one. So there's a lot of moving parts. All right, good. Who else? Comments or ahas? Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry. You
No,
go
go ahead.
first. And then I think that might be Ray, but you go.
I thought it was cool how you slipped in there the address, because I always forget to get the address.
Of course you did. Yeah, I did too. But he's already talking about it. And I didn't say, hey, can I register? Like, you know what? Do you mind if I get your address so I can look it up on Google Maps to understand how big a house you want? Like, what is it that bothers you about your yard? Right, again, I want to find the problem so I can solve it. If I don't find the problem, then how could I solve it? It would be literally like a doctor coming in and go, yep, okay, here you go. Take these 2, call me in the morning. I would ask questions. How long has it been lasting? Or does your head hurt? Are there any other symptoms? Right? What have you been eating? Have you changed your diet? Right? All sorts of things. Have you been traveling? I'd want to know all that before I gave the medicine to her to solve the symptom, which is the headache, but not the root cause. The symptom is he doesn't like being close to his neighbors. But what was the root cause? What did he actually go back to? And I don't know if it's true, but what was the root cause of his of the reason why he wanted more space? Yeah, but what's the root? What is actually the root issue he wants? What does he want to accomplish? I don't know if y'all heard it. That's the symptom, but what's actually causing that? What does he want?
Yard space.
For what?
Oh, for
More
Family time.
He wants more time with his family to be able to play ball. That's at the end of the day what it is. I didn't go deep, but he said it without him saying it. Right? Because I just asked 2 more questions. Well, I don't reach my yard. Okay, what about? Because at the end of the day, and it sounded like maybe it's because that's the way his childhood was.
He said that.
He did say that. I didn't, I mean, and I don't know, that may be what you and your life were looking for,
Yeah,
or
no, we actually did have a nice yard growing up.
there you go. So now that is the symptom, right? I had a client come here from Orlando. They have 8 adopted kids, right? They just adopt, like Brad and Angelina. And the most important thing to them was every morning they had to have breakfast together. Right? Said, okay, got it. That's deal breaker. Sure. Okay. Then send me the measurements of your table. And unless the table will fit in the breakfast nook, we're not even going to look at the house. They said done. They moved here from Orlando, Florida to Frisco. I only showed them 3 houses. They picked the second house, made an offer only because that breakfast nook fit, and all the other stuff was circumstantial. Sure, they wanted a nice yard and all that stuff, but if the breakfast nook didn't fit for their 8 kids and them, they didn't want it. Make sense? Yes.
So in a situation like that, if you're setting up a search on the portal, are you going to become a concierge and only send them properties through the portal that fit that as well?
No, back then we didn't have concierge, so I sent them everything available on their price point. And then when they looked at it, we first looked at the dimensions. If it didn't fit, we moved on. If the dimensions fit, I physically went to the house and measured. Right, and said, these are the 3 houses that actually will work based on the measurements you get. Okay, who else? I think, Ray, did you have a question or a comment?
No, the aha was that you
Yes.
hit the 6 points up nurture
That's right.
and you had the clear follow-up telling them that you will reach out to him at round 4. Are you going to be sending him something at 4?
Yeah.
So that was something that I definitely need to.
So, yeah, I'm guilty of it, Ray. So if you're ever working with a client or a lead that calls you, then we've lost. Then we become what's called a reactive realtor. Right? Let me give you another story. I was referred from my assistant, her best friend's purchase. Right? So we helped them buy a home. I think it was in Salina before Salina was even a thing. Went great. One of the very few transactions that didn't have a lot of problems. Closed, moved on. Because they were moving in together, they also had a house to sell. Right? So of course I followed up because they're in a position to buy before they sell. I thought, great, well, let's talk about your home. I was curious on when you want to get that on the market, or if you decide to keep it as a rental, because that was a conversation. He went with a different realtor. Because he said every time he needed something, he had to call us. Now, at the end of the day, nothing went wrong with the house. There was no issues. There was no issues with the transaction. But in his mind, he felt when he needed something, he had to call us. Right? And I was like, that's really hard to swallow, but okay, I get it. Right? I get it. Because how many times do you want something, right? Think of if you're in the industry of a restaurant, if you had to constantly ask the waiter for something, even though everything might go perfect, doesn't that feel like, man, we didn't get really good service here. We always had to ask the waiter to bring water or refill, or hey, we need our check, right? Versus the waiter that always checks in, it's like, do you need anything, you need anything, right? And again, I'd rather them over ask to serve you than say, yeah, you know, the meal was good, the food was good, but the service was kind of, right here, so, and they may not come back. Right, it's the same thing in real estate business. If they're calling you or emailing you, I understand there's within reason, right? If they're just reaching out for some questions. But then you know that you're being a reactive real estate agent instead of proactive. Now, we since solved that because now when anybody's our client, they know exactly when they'll be contacted by our team. They know that every Monday and Friday, they're getting updates from my team about their process. So if they need anything in between, they can call, but every Monday and Friday, they're getting updates about their home. Right? Now, if it's a showing, how fast does somebody want information when they have a show? That's like Facebook. As soon as they post it, they're like, hey, how'd it go? Right? So you got to manage that differently, release the showing information quickly, and then try to get information from the agent who showed it so you can give it to the seller. Right. So this technique goes well beyond just working with a lead. It goes into customer service, if that makes sense. So thank you, Ray. All right, who else? How much time? 12:30. Okay. Who else? What else ahas from that conversation?
Like when you're talking about the numbers, and I said, I'm just thinking way back, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the indication of a number.
Yes.
And I was like to me, I was just like, oh, well, that makes total sense, but I would never,
Well, your objections were the market,
yeah.
the money piece on whether it makes sense. The only emotional piece that we had was the yard, which is fine. Now, let's talk about that. How do most people buy, emotionally or logically? Emotionally. Otherwise, we'd all drive the same car. We'd all wear the same clothes. We'd all eat the same thing. But there is such thing as, you know, emotionally the way you want to feel and look, emotionally the way you want to eat, right? So emotionally, right, was the yard. Logically does it make sense for him logically to do this? So you make a decision emotionally, then you back it up with logic. Okay, so emotionally, you want that outfit or those shoes, but logically, I don't have any money in my account, so I ain't gonna be able to buy those shoes, right? Or I've got money, but I gotta save that for the wedding, or I gotta buy this, or I would love to buy a boat, but we really need to buy a house, right? Emotionally, everybody liked a lot of toys or whatever, but logically, it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Right, so same thing here. Emotionally, you want the big yard with your family to play outside, and that's what's driving this decision. You need to know if logically it makes sense. And that's what I'm going to bring to you 4:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Tell you here's how you're going to approach it. And if it makes sense for you logically, then let's talk about the next step about getting your home ready to sell and buy it. If it doesn't, no big deal. Guess what? You're now in my database and I'm going to talk to you for the rest of your life. Right? Because now you're somebody I want to stay in touch with. Right? Good. Who else? What else?
I have aha.
Okay, what's your aha?
You didn't write it on there, but you asked him, without asking him if he had an agent before you made the appointment.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted an agent opportunity to make sure if I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm not going over there to give him free information. Right? Because a lot of people forget that. Right? Other things, right? Are you interviewing anybody else for the job of getting your home sold? Right? You can get very direct with it. I just want to make sure y'all just don't ask, do you have an agent? Right? You know, and I make this joke, especially with the young kids on my team that are single. I go, do you ever go up to a girl and say, do you have a boyfriend? Well, no, because what are they going to say? Yes, get away from it. Yeah, take it. Right? They're going to say that. So don't do that with your consumer that doesn't know you. They're going to say, I got an agent. I don't want to be bothered. Or you ask them about, are they buying or selling, and learn how important the yard is. right? The one great thing with those guys in Orlando, they use this to sell their house because they eventually go back to Orlando, but they literally said, we're calling you back because we remembered how much of important we were when we told you what we wanted in our house. So we're calling you to sell it. Right? We stayed in touch with them too, but just to give you an example. All right, 2 more ahas. And we'll wrap up. 2 more ahas.
I think that it's asking the right questions. I mean, you're just asking all the right questions and every time they answer you, you just keep rolling with it to where
That's
then
right.
you
That's right,
turn
Peggy.
like, if I found everything you were looking then in a house, lot, whatever, would you be willing to pull the trigger? When would you be?
That's
you know,
right.
All the flow.
That's right. So those are 2 questions. Thank you, Peggy. One is, it's called the Socratic method, right? Now, again, the reason why I sometimes don't like role playing is because I throw in a bunch of techniques that I'm not necessarily teaching you yet. But just like a playbook, right? You start out with 7 plays and it gets to 14 plays and then 21 plays and then options and different personnel, et cetera. That is Socratic method is I base my next question based on what you tell me, right? That's the Socratic method, right? So basically, you know what question to ask because it's going to come out whatever you say. That's why I got with the address, right? Does that make sense, Peggy?
Yes.
And the second technique that was in there that you heard, Peggy, is called the isolation method, right? So when you come to an objection, you want to isolate to make sure that's the only concern. And it sounds much similar to what I said. So other than pricing, was there any other concern about selling your house? Well, yeah, and then, so great, tell me about those. Let's talk about that. So I can be fully prepared for our meeting tomorrow morning at 4:30. Because I want to make sure I know all your issues that with selling house, so I can be prepared, so I can overcome them. And now if I overcome every objection, then I know that the where and the why and the when or the motivation of moving isn't strong enough for you to overcome what you need to do to get there, which is totally fine. But I want to make sure I know that. Right? If there's any other concerns. So I heard market concerns and money concerns, and we would go over that tomorrow. Right? And that's called isolation. So other than this, right? Is there anything else that prevents you from buying this house? Other than that, is there anything else from you moving forward with me? Right? It's a good close too when you want to hire. So other than you telling your neighbors that you're moving, because oddly enough, that's a big one. Is there anything else preventing you from hiring me today? No, awesome. Let's go ahead and sign the paperwork. I won't put the sign in the yard until you tell your neighbors. But at least I can get working when I get back to the office. Right? It's called isolation. Right?
You 100% getting fiber.
A listing agreement, sure. Buyer agreement, no, I'm not gonna lie to you like, I'm not, no. And I don't think that's the way the industry is going. Now, I do think you do need to get it eventually. But like when you go show at Bob Baker, right? He's not listening. When you go show a buyer on the internet, a home, first I want you to be concerned is make sure it's safe, like make sure your safety's checked, right? Whether that be having a buddy system or whatever, or having them come to the office first, whatever you feel comfortable with, that obviously. The second thing is, I don't mind you showing a house to people 2-3 times without a buyer rep, because that's what's gonna happen if you don't do it. They'll call Open Door, they'll call Redfin. And then if you get the where, when, and why, then you will get the buyer rep, because then they will have a relationship with you or a rapport with you, right? So there's 2 types of relationships that you're building on, right? Thank you for bringing that up. It's implied and expressed. Okay. So what is an implied relationship?
You do actions that make it seem like that are agents, but you don't.
But you're not signing anything. So what is an implied relationship that everybody's done here before? Good, outside of real estate. Ray, did you say something?
No, I was saying an applied relationship that we have done in real estate is just meeting up with them. You know.
Good,
and just-
outside of real estate. So has anybody here gone to a restaurant? Has anybody gone to a high-end restaurant? Has anybody ordered from Chick-fil-A, drive-through, maybe once or twice? Have any of y'all ever signed a contract that you would pay for the food when it arrives? Good. Did any of y'all get a credit check or have your debit card ran to make sure you could afford it? No, that's an implied relationship. That when I sit down, that I'm going to pay the bill at the end. So that's what you're building with the consumer when you go show a house. It's implied. Now, it doesn't mean they have to use you. I mean, they're going to use you, but right now you're in an implied relationship showing this house. Does that make sense? Now, what's an expressed relationship?
You actually have a contract.
You have a contract. Right? That's it. And there's 1,000 ways y'all can talk about when you join this office, you sign express contract. When you join my team, you sign express contract. When you put a listing up, you sign express contract. When you go into contract with another seller, you sign an express contract. So that's pretty straightforward. Right? You do want to move to that. And again, as you get better and go, there are some people like attorneys that rather work expressly. Right? And there's value in that. Investors don't like working expressly. Right? But there's values in that, great, and we've told investors that I totally understand. Just understand that when we're in an applied relationship, that I may not take you the best deal first. Well, what do you mean? It's like, well, I've got clients that have agreed to work with me and only me. I'm gonna take it to them first. And that's my fiduciary duty. Are you okay with that? Well, I don't know. It's like, okay, listen, it's up to you. Right? The other thing is, the client that I made an offer for today, I used the same script on. I know we're kind of getting off topic, so I'll come back. I'll circle around about this. But originally he wanted to work with 2 or 3 realtors. He's relocating here from Orlando, another Orlando one, oddly enough. And he said, well, I really want more feet on the ground. I go, I get it. I said, but here's where I'm coming from. You got a team of 20, including me. And if we go to work for you and try to find these properties, we didn't know that we have an agreement that we're going to work with each other. Right? I don't really want the implied relationship when you're relocating here. Now, if you want to work with other realtors, that's okay. But I just want to let you know the amount of effort we put towards you is going to be less, not because you're a bad person, because of the business relationship we have. Right? I said, okay, I said, let me put it this way. When you dated your wife in the R-Series, did you tell her you want to date a couple of girls and kind of figure it out with her, or just date her and then figure it out if you want to marry her? And he laughed because, well, I just dated her and then we decided to marry her. I said, same thing. Let's date. And if you don't like me at the end and we don't find what you want, you can tear up that piece of paperwork and we won't get married. Right? And when I did that, he said, okay, that's fine. And we're writing an offer for him today, right? Even a year later. But that's it. Don't overdo it. That's all it is. Implied versus expressed. Okay. All right. So let's finish up with what can I help y'all with on the next meeting in regards to Rise and internet leads? Did the 6 points of context help on how you're going to take any lead, but particularly internet leads, to the next level on the football field? Okay. So what can I help you with, or what questions or comments do you have to wrap up? And how often are y'all going to role play this? Because that's the key, Anita. Role play. I didn't get here just because I all of a sudden got it. I got it because I did it so many freaking times that now, 20 years later, it's ingrained in my brain. Like even if hadn't said it in a year, I'll come back and it'll sound just like that.
Can I answer that with a question?
Of course.
Your best practice for role play,
Yep. Every day.
how long?
10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. Everybody's learning speed is differently. That's kind of like saying, well, how often should I work out? 4 times a day, 5 times a day? It really depends on your goal. Right? If your goal is to close 100 homes in 1 year, and they'll all be people that don't know you and trust you, you probably have to be one of the best communicators in the real estate industry. Right? If you want to work with expireds who are angry and upset that you're calling them at 7 in the morning, you probably better be one of the best communicators in the real estate industry. Right? But if you're working your database, you probably don't have to be as in tune. Now, my head says you should be in tune anyways, because I think you'll find as you build on this, much like working out, once you get through the first few, then you just start stacking it. Like what Peggy heard. Peggy heard me use isolation. She heard me use a different technique, Socratic method, because you can build on top of those language patterns. Same thing with acting, right? That's basically what it is.
It
Good.
reminds me, my wife's a piano teacher.
Piano teacher.
She-
Yeah, you gotta learn the basics.
You learn basics, but you learn it to where it's like, kids want to learn like Harry Potter or Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's very like, yes, it's there. But then they'll move up and they have a little bit more notes and then move up, and it's like, they're still learning the same song, but each time. they
That's right.
progress.
Guitar, right? I think it's like 4 chords.
Mhm.
And then when you learn those 4 chords, you can play almost any song with those 4 chords. But it's the combination of those 4 chords that makes the song.
Exactly.
Right, same thing here. 6 points of context is the basic. You get that down, you can build a conversation to whatever level you want. But this is the basic fundamental for our particular business. Good. Who else? Anybody on Zoom? Any ahas, comments, or anything I can help with on the next class? Okay, give me two more and we'll wrap up. Two more. Nothing from my Zoomers. My Zoomers started out so strong.
So I guess, I think you may have touched a little bit of this, about this in last class, but like. Kind of moving forward, like when you have a lot of internet people,
Yes.
that inevitably like don't just respond to you or
Right.
whatever. Like what, I think, or I would like to see maybe like a better breakdown of kind of like exactly what they fall in a category and exactly how you follow up with like. Like they're kind of responsive, but they're not really like serious, or if they're just 100% not responsive,
Okay.
you know, like kind of break down.
You want to see a breakdown more of the pipeline of how we break it down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I would say kind of like the 80-20 rule. 80% of your time is going to be focused on this, but the other 20% I'd be happy to do. Like we have a category called watch. Great conversation. They go kind of dead. You want to necessarily give up, so you put them on a watch plan. Right? Or they didn't get the job, still may move to Colorado, Dallas from Colorado, but it may be next year now. So you put them on a watch plan. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Okay.
Good. Who else? One more. Is this helpful? Maybe I should ask that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Will y'all apply, do y'all need help applying it other than role playing? Because your conversations online will be so much better, or even in person.
I think you're always.
Yeah.
Applying it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the thing is, an application comes from practice.
Yeah.
I just don't want you necessarily to practice on the internet leads.
Yeah.
Because then you'll be frustrated, they'll be frustrated, then you'll say internet leads don't work. And that's not the case, right? I've had many people say open houses don't work. And I said, okay, great, talk to me, when I walk in, how do you greet? Right? And then it's not exactly the way, and we change their script and dialogue. Next, you know, they start getting some nurtures and clients out of it. That's all it is. That's all it is just is increasing your level. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Sorry, I was a little late today. If there's any other questions, let me know. And then we'll figure out the next time with Lucy, but hopefully this is helpful. We'll keep diving into the conversation. We'll go a little deeper next time, and then I'll bring a little bit on the pipeline, how
Okay.
to manage it.
Thanks, Denton.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, go eat this pizza. Hey. Yeah, of course. Okay.
So 1:30.
11:30, 12:30 on my. Maybe time zone?